So now when we build software, at least 60% of what we build is built by AI. By the end of this year or early next year, we're going to be closer to 85, maybe even get to 100%, all built by AI.
Welcome to Connected Conversations. I am Elena Petrova, founder and CEO of Adastra Inc. Let's share the inspiring stories, strengthen our bonds, and pave the way for a brighter future, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Connected Conversations. And this is the show where humans connect in the world that has never been so connected and so lonely at the same time. And today I'm with Masha Sharma. We are here in New York, and we just spent hours at the conference talking about AI agents. Masha, how do you feel?
I feel energized. I'm ready for a human connection now after having so much AI agent conversations.
You have done amazing today. I really enjoyed your panel. So tell me, last time we met, it was Washington, D.C. We are in New York 18 months ago. So many things changed, right? I don't even know if businesses were using agentic AI 18 months ago. And probably 18 months from now, customers will be, businesses and their customers will be talking to each other, communicating through AI agents. What do you think?
Absolutely. So 18 months ago, only few handful of companies, like really kind of early stage startups, were publicly admitting to using Gen AI, using it in their products, voice agents, LLM workflows. Large enterprises, the ones that were on my radar, were still definitely very much behind, and boy, did the world change. Since then, I've joined Groupon as VP of Merchant Experience, and my teams deal with everything in the merchant lifecycle. So anything from the discovery to sign-on, onboarding, AI-assisted deal creation, AI-assisted compliance verification, running their campaigns, performance management of these campaigns, voucher redemption, you name it, end to end. And as a large enterprise, as Groupon, we are in multiple countries, international. We serve about 16 million active customers. We work with merchants in different domains, from health, beauty, and wellness, home and auto, things to do, travel, goods, and we are connecting these local communities, both the consumers and the merchants together in this process. And we're all in, into this transformation of the business into becoming AI native. And that implies that all of us become builders.
Could you explain what AI native means? Because today, during the conference, this conversation is just on every single session is SaaS versus AI native. What does it mean?
I think there are a lot of different definitions, and I couldn't quote you a classical definition. I'll just tell you what I think that means, right? In my world, AI native means we fundamentally change the business model in how we interact with each other, with the software, and how we build. So in practical terms, what that means is the entire delivery process is different. So, as you know, I'm a big fan of Claude Code and Cursor, and I've built my own operating system. And so if you take that example of running kind of your day-to-day operation in fill-in-the-blank coding agent, Claude Code for me, the AI native aspect of that is now, rather than me consuming and build, let's say, consuming information in Tableau reports, I can just talk to my AI assistant, and it gives me all the information that I need. The same is true for building. So now when we build software, at least 60% of what we build is built by AI. by the end of this year or early next year, we're going to be closer to 85, maybe even get to 100%, all built by AI. So now the shift is that I am an orchestrator. So I am a conductor of my AI agentic orchestra, where I give guidance and direction and oversee the work of my agents rather than me writing the code, me writing the spec, me doing the design, right? And that's the AI native thinking that we're promoting throughout the company. So that means that all of our employees are embracing all of the AI innovations, becoming builders, and delivering at the speed of AI delivery.
What does it mean for SaaS? Do we leave it behind now?
I think it's changing and it's transforming. There's certainly some SaaS offerings that are being absorbed by these AI companies, right? You know that Claude came out with Cowork, and now all of a sudden you can connect together HubSpot data with your Jira data, with your log data, you name it, right? It all comes together into this data harness, data lake that is locally available to you, and you can ask numerous amounts of questions. Like something that in the past you need data analysts, you need to put in a request with your sales team, could you build this report for me? And you get your report, and then maybe it doesn't have all the answers. Now you got new questions, and you go in this cycle over and over again. But with the MCPs and the tooling that's available now, that kind of barrier to getting answers is gone. So in that regard, some platforms will have to adopt, right? Mm-hmm. Some will die, and we're seeing that on the market, but some will have to adapt and really solidify their core value proposition in this age of AI and figure out what is their differentiator that's going to hold their position on the market.
Interesting. There were several conversations today on how the businesses are going to be moving forward, and those that will survive this yet another wave, right? And those are the businesses that will take very radical steps, and they will take radical change moving forward. It seems to me that this slow sort of incremental approach, that's not the time for it.
Not anymore.
Not anymore,
I would say
right?
not anymore. Now it's, try and build something, fail fast, experiment fast. It's less about regimented cycles as it was in the past. Like in the past, we were all agile Scrum. We left waterfall behind. People wore their badge of honor of being a Scrum Master or Agilist. And now even that is not fast enough. Right now we're talking about condensing those delivery cycles. So if I can condense a delivery cycle from a 2-week sprint or 1-week sprint to 1 or 2 days, why wouldn't I? Right? This way, now the change is I have an idea and I'm just going to evaluate it, and I'll run it through my AI assistant and produce some kind of artifact that helps me communicate that idea to my stakeholders or my peers. And we are taking it even further, and something that we came up with are simulations where even before I present my idea to, let's say, my peers, I can actually run it through a simulation, bouncing this idea among a council of advisors or a council of customer archetypes. And you can make it very specific to your use case. So you kind of get this 360-degree view on your idea, your thesis, before you invest engineering resources, time, and money into it. And you can do it all within days, at least to directionally validate what it is that you're doing. And then there's still a case for engineering oversight and execution, right? When you have to integrate into your core services, especially if you're dealing with legacy, when you have to scale. In that regard, we're still heavily relying on engineering, but we're doing it faster.
So interesting. I heard today quite a few concepts on how multiple industries are going to be changing, particularly the companies that charge by subscription. Those older subscription models seems like they're all going to be going away, and it's going to be pay per use, which is going to be a significant change in so many ways, right? That also, I cannot even imagine. I'm keep thinking about it because like all those license fees seems like will be going away, subscriptions will be going away. How the company is going to be evaluated, because all the profit margins probably going to be lower, but because we are moving so fast, this revenue will be accumulating so much faster, right? So interesting to me. Today there was a conversation on one of the workshops on how we are going to be calculating the return on investment on engineers. Are those any of the conversations that your team is having?
Something similar. We definitely think about the impact before making cool things, right? We have cool ideas all day long, but if your idea doesn't deliver impact, which in the business sense is a financial impact in some way, then maybe it's not worth building, right? So like that is definitely the core premise, right? That KPI gets outlined from the go, and then everything else falls from that. I heard the same panel where they were talking about measuring ROI by engineer and what's being delivered. But I think it's a wrong argument, because it's not only engineers that are delivering now, at least not in our world. We are seeing a world of builders that come not just from the engineering side, product, sales, marketing. Every one of our teams is building agents. And I think the way to quantify that ROI is, what you were talking about is changing the subscription-based model to a model that's closely aligned to how we pay humans, right? We pay humans either an hourly rate, annual salary, right? But it's a very finite unit of measure. You're paying by the hour this much, or you're paying a salary for this set of skill sets. And I think with AI agents, a very simple model, which I'd like to see more of, is when agents are being charged by the minute, sort of in the same way that we would be paying for human labor, right? But now we're paying for AI agent labor in the same way. Because it's really hard to quantify all of the resources that these agents take up. And it's a lot easier mental math to understand that I'm about to hire 200 AI agents for my organization, and each agent is going to cost me, I don't know, $15 an hour, or some kind of a number that helps you calculate your COGS better.
Interesting, right? To me, so if you are also an organization that has your own developers, but then all this cost will go towards your development team. So then you are calculating return on investment on your engineers and developers. So this is over my head so far as a business owner, but it would be so curious to see how those business models are going to be changing. For you guys, your company Groupon positions itself as a AI first. What does it mean?
So we are in a transitional phase. We're in the new wave of digital transformation, right? We have a lot of legacy code and, more importantly, legacy processes. And now it's a fine balance between digitizing the existing manual processes and completely revamping them, and really taking the first principles approach is this a valid process? Is this the best way of doing this process? Is there a better way to do that? And this applies to every aspect of the business, inside and out, not just the engineering organization. We are questioning, in some parts, are parts of this business model valid? Should we be doing contracts this way or that way? And right now, it's a really interesting time. And certainly the decisions we're making, and when we are hiring, we're looking for AI native workforce, and we're also retraining our existing workforce to be AI native. We have a very active AI showcase channel where every day you have multiple people bright-eyed, excited, writing about different discoveries they've made, POCs, improvements, how they've leveraged the technology that was provided to them. Everybody is encouraged to have a Cloud Code license. We have data cubes, which is a governed context layer for data to give to all of the employees at Groupon, so that when they are building whatever that is they're building, it's grounded in some truth, right? That is shared among all of the teams that are using that data. Otherwise, you end up in a situation where multiple people asking the same question of the data get a different answers, because, as we know, AI will hallucinate, and it is not deterministic, it's probabilistic. And so you need to have a very good governance layer and the truth layer. And something that you've said about, compensation for engineering and whether that's being revisited. But if you think about it, engineering, there are different aspects to it, right? You have care and maintenance and kind of nurture of existing systems, right? It has nothing to do with AI, and not everything needs to be AI, in fact, right? In some areas, you want to stay very much deterministic. It's how you develop changes, but the artifacts don't necessarily have to change, right? Not everything needs AI chatbot or an LLM workflow.
And when you say artifacts, what do you mean by that?
An artifact could be an application, a product, a document, whatever the output is of that activity. So not everything needs to be AI, right? And I think there's, especially coming from the conference where it is all AI agents, the impression may be that everyone has to rush now and rebuild everything into an AI native application. That's not the case, at least not today, not now.
Can you walk us through maybe a position or a team that it used to be a human work that is done now by agent in your organization, and how it looks like? And as we keep talking today during the conference, that we still want to have human in the loop. The work is being done by agent. And perhaps your organization already done something like this. So how that human in the loop feels about the work being done by agent, how this synergy working?
Well, I think that there's a relief and kind of a sense of embrace, right? Because as a human doing the work, and I'll give you two specific examples in a minute, the work is tedious. You have to open up multiple portals, multiple sources of truth, maybe your CRM, your reporting tool, email, whatever else. And it's busy work, right? It's a lot of context switching, which is, let's face it, it's pretty exhausting, right? Staying focused when you're constantly switching screens is difficult, right? Our attention goes somewhere else as you're making these switches. And now with the AI-assisted workflows, AI is bringing insights to you. So now we're leveraging humans for decision-making, not the busy work. And it is that work that is actually super interesting. And that's the high-value work where the knowledge workers are still superior and still important. It's connecting, the dots, what's between the lines, what's not available in the data, what comes from their experience, what comes from their human connection, right? AI cannot pick up emotional cues, when talking to a merchant, right? The AI can't, at least not right now, it can't do it well. And do humans even open up to AI? That's a whole other conversation. So now, as far as the specific examples, we have started to roll out our new onboarding flow for merchants that we work with. So in the past, when a merchant creates their campaign to post onto Groupon, they have to be the marketer, right? They have to write the title, the description, figure out how pricing should work in their market. And that takes time, right? And if you add to it, like, let's just take United States as an example. We are a multicultural country, right? We have people from all kinds of cultures speaking different languages, different ethnic backgrounds that are the salt of the earth, we call them, right? They own these businesses. They work hard on these businesses. They can't possibly perform in every single role and be really good at it. So when their campaign hits the Groupon marketplace, it needs a lot of work, and somebody has to step in and help them. And on our side, we would have content operations, right, and a pipeline of people that are looking at these deals and kind of thinking, is this deal positioned well? Is it going to sell on the market? It takes a lot of time and slows down the process as a result, right? And also humans are not perfect, right? We operate sometimes with incomplete information. So with the creation of this AI-driven process, what we've done is for every merchant that comes on the platform, we recommend them the perfect deal. And that recommendation is grounded in years of data in that location from similar customers that buy similar deals. So when we present something to the merchant, it is grounded in the actual performance data and what is popular and what will convert. It's also grounded in deep expertise that our teams, our content operations, and other teams have category managers in that category. So they are experts in name the deal, home and auto. Like, we have an expert in parking garages in New York City, right? They know how to sell those. We have experts in injectables, right? You can't just post garbage because someone will buy that deal and they could have their face ruined, right? So there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of secret sauce. And so now it's guided and assisted. And so we make it really easy for the merchant. So if I'm a nail tech lady and I own a salon and my calendar is busy on the weekends, but I want to get foot traffic on a Monday, I have to find time to sit there and figure out how to do this marketing campaign and how to word it and what images to post. And now there is this AI, I call it a growth advisor because it fits into that strategy really well. It's like their personal marketer that is available to them to work with Groupon. And that's awesome. It frees up their day. And I just see this is what the panel was about. I see that this world is freeing up the merchant to actually focus on what's important. And what's important is for them to provide the service that they open their business for and not deal with the minutiae of pricing the market, launching marketing campaigns, figuring out the schedule for their staff or doing hiring, sort of the minutia. We need them to be the kind of the human brain capital and the decision maker, and the information needs to come to them just in time, the right information that will help them scale their business.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. The majority of those small businesses, they are run by immigrants. And here my question is going to be, of course, I love talking about communication and here trust, right? It all gets together. How, let's pedal back a little bit. First, what, in your opinion, people need to know before they start implementing AI agents, right? Because there are quite a few things that can go horribly wrong if tell me what is if, right? What do those business owners, small business owners, need to know?
There is a lot. Could be a dangerous territory in some sense, right?
Right.
We are seeing examples in the market where you can talk to McDonald's chatbot and ask it technical questions, or maybe it was Wendy's, but one of these fast food chains, they have a chatbot, and then some board engineers started asking it questions about RAG, about vector databases, and it was responding because there's no guardrail, right? So if everything is connected underneath, and what we heard at the conference and what's being said is you have like this master orchestrator agent that has access to everything, and it routes different queries and requests to appropriate agents. Well, there also needs to be a harness that someone put in place while thinking about all the things that can go wrong, all the risks, so that there is no extortion, so that bad actor does not get access to financial data, bad actor cannot commit wire fraud and things of that nature, right? That's one. The second thing is in cost. Right, we know that token usage carries a price, right, and that price can vary even depending on which provider or which model you're using, right? So if I was a merchant and I just said, oh, I'll go build my agents using Claude console, okay, I can do that, but without that engineering mindset and security mindset, I could be out of thousands of dollars if this isn't properly managed and properly set up.
Interesting. So governance is the first and foremost that business owners need to be aware of. And then, of course, again, for the small business owners who are immigrants, personalization, I would probably think that the big role that it plays, that the personal touch, that identity. What's your take on this? How to keep that personal touch?
That's a really good question and something that's been top of mind for me. As someone that did a lot of experimentation in creating these marketing campaigns for merchants at scale, something that I realized early on that there is a risk that every campaign across merchants can start looking very much the same, that it starts looking very templated and not personal and too verbose, too much AI. And for that, I was doing variance testing, like actually having another AI layer that looks and checks for how similar the wording is, the patterns in the wording is between these campaigns, and then how far apart it is, right? And I wanted it to be pretty far apart. Now, does that make these campaigns sound human? That's another layer of evaluation that should be happening. Now, there are ways to make things less cookie cutter and more personalized, right? And that is where the context engineering comes into play. So there's all the little pieces of data that you are submitting into your AI agents for them to work with. So there's some system level prompt that's generic for everyone. Then there are the inputs that are dynamic to each specific merchant in our case. And then there are rules that come from these manifests that we've created for different situations. And so then the outcome of that is something that is more personalized to that merchant. We are even able to take the voice of the merchant, sort of by analyzing their website. The problem there is it's not always as what we started with. The merchants aren't marketers, right? Then there's the question, is their website content already polluted by AI? And do we have this self-fulfilling prophecy where we take their unique voice from something that was already AI generated and in a very generic sense, with general LLMs, and now we're taking that and using that as the true voice, and are we perpetuating the problem then? So I think we will, in the next year or two, we'll get into the territory where we will be able to, and when I say we, I think any platform will be moving that way, is really becoming that personal assistant to the merchant, where it can pick up signals when their website may not be great. Who knows when and who created it, right? We can advise on how to make it better, what kind of imagery would actually attract customers. After all, we have many years worth of data on every click and every view. So there's definitely intelligence that could be made available to the merchants to let them focus on their business and let us worry about helping them get foot traffic through their door.
Yeah, that is a very good point. That we it's hard to know any at this point, right? Where is the authentic voice? I have to tell you that I was making a reservation for the hotel for this trip. I was on the phone, and it was very hard. Like it was a minute for me, several seconds, but close to a minute, right? To understand, am I talking to a human or am I talking to an agent? Because the voice was so human. It was like the interaction was so human. Then I realized that I was being passed to a human by the agent. And my itinerary for this conference was 100% done by my agent.
That's awesome.
She's trained so well, and thanks to you, of course. But yeah, she knows me so well. She knows every single like every single workshop that I would be interested to go. So we are getting there.
That's amazing. I have a funny anecdote. I was in a team meeting. This was maybe 5 weeks ago or so. And one of my team members was out that day. So it was a PTO. So nobody was expecting him in the meeting. And this was a Google Meet. So we are on camera, but there's a chat too. And all of a sudden in the chat, we start seeing responses from him about something that we're discussing. Mind you, he's not in the meeting. And there was about 5 minutes when none of us knew if this is really him or if he set up an OpenClaw or an AI agent that is just responding to the context that it hears on the call. It was quite interesting. I'm still not sure if that was human.
That's just so interesting. My agent, she knew about you, and she started sending me reminders. She started sending me reminders that I need to meet you at the door of the hotel and probably get some coffee, because that would be a good thing to do, provided that you are giving me your time for the podcast.
She's not wrong.
It's interesting because I have another guest that I'm going to be seeing here in New York for the podcast. So she gave me suggestions what I should be giving that guest as a small token of appreciation, because she was sending me a message that this guest collects. He's a collector. And she was saying, it would be very nice of you to get XYZ thing for that guest because he collects this. I thought it was amazing.
See, and this is exactly the example where it's super helpful and it's super insightful, and it's not replacing anybody in your day-to-day, right? It is a value add.
Right. So as my one of the guests that I was having here in New York last time when I was coming here, it's basically his thought was AI agents are not going to be, changing anything. It's pretty much going to be amplify the business that already exists. That was his thought. So it's basically, if you have a bad online presence or you have a bad business model, it's going to amplify something that you missing. And if you have something good about your business model or your online presence about your business, that's going to be amplified and you're going to be blossoming more. What do you think about it?
I think it depends. So if in his comment he's talking about outside agents,
probably branding,
right?
Yeah.
If there are outside agents that are looking at your brand, then I agree. whatever the current state of your brand is will be amplified, good or bad, right? But if the narrative is more, you have your own AI agents or AI that you're using, then it's about the prompting, right? And the smart ones are always doubt themselves, right? And that applies to business too, is don't be comfortable, right? Question whether the business model you currently have, whether the strategy you currently have is the right model and the right strategy. And AI actually is at its best not when it agrees with you, which it does a lot, and it confuses a lot of people, but when you can prompt it to be critical, prompt it to be contrarian, give you multiple points of view at the same time. And that part too can be automated. So kind of having this console of skeptics will actually help you narrow down on the truth.
And how do you do that? Because there is the stigma today that in general, AI just agrees with you, sort of like makes you a little bit of a narcissist, that just you're perfect, everything you're doing is great, you ask the question and it says yes. So how do you prompt it in a way that you're suggesting?
Great. So if AI is being used as a tool, so let's say you're using your Claude or ChatGPT and you're just using it as a question answer, right? It will 100% give you the most positive thing every single time. If you are in that tool in particular, you can create a skill that has criticism baked into it, right? You can create a plugin that runs multiple skills and kind of little mini workflows and says, okay, I want you to take first principles approach. I want you to approach this maybe as this persona or that persona, or you are a critic, you're a devil's advocate. You can set up your agents and your skills in a way.
What is the skill? Like when you say you can create a skill.
So think about something you do repetitively, right? So maybe you every morning you wake up and you have to look at your agenda, right? And you write a little plan of meetings that you're going to have and key points you have to address. And you do it every single day, right? Very repetitive. Then you start using your AI assistant, and every day you say, give me this and give me that, right? Again, it's repetitive, it automates it, but it's still very repetitive, and maybe even the output will be slightly different because, AI will never give you the same response twice. So then what a skill is, it's a set of instructions that it's an MD markdown file that's called skill. Right? And you can create skills for literally anything where you want to automate some parts of the repetitive work. Right? You want the same outcome. You want it to use the same template. Maybe you want your team to use the same template.
So would you say that skill, it's basically, I want to make sure that our listeners can follow it. Template. You're creating skills, you're creating a template.
You're transposing your own skills to AI, right? So fill in the blank on the role. But let's take your role, right? You're a CEO of Ad Astra, and there are like certain activities that you do every single day at some frequency, right?
Let's say, like, for instance, if you help me, okay, so I need to create a skill for my agent to create a to-do list for me for next day. How do you do that?
You could actually just prompt your agent just the way you said it and then said, hey, I need you to create a skill for my to-do list so that every day you're looking at my Outlook calendar, my Outlook email, Jira, whatever, name the set of tools where you capture information. Right? And you could say, okay, for every meeting that I'm having with a client, I also want you to go look at my CRM and see what happened in the last conversation. I want to understand the state of our relationship. Maybe if it's a sales call, you want to trigger another agent to go and do the research on that individual or that company, right? And you're kind of systematizing all of these different activities that you do. And the same goes for your team, right? You have a marketer. Marketer knows several things. Each one of these things is a skill that they have developed throughout their career, right? Set up a campaign is a skill. It's a very procedural set of steps.
And
right?
do you do it the same way that you would do it with human, just like step by
Yes.
step, like a
The
bullet
more
list?
the more precise you can be, the better your outcome will be.
So basically, if you think about this, the way how you would be talking to 7 years old
Yes.
kid, saying, okay, first you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and just like step by step, you're creating step by step process.
Exactly. It's exactly that. Exactly. And you can make it as complex or as simple as you want it to be. And then you have these hooks that automate your skills to run on a schedule. So you don't even have to trigger it. You just wake up in the morning, and in the location that you've designated, you have your plan for the day, and it's just there.
So
So-
helpful.
It's so helpful.
It could be for anybody, right? Like if you are, if you have a mom, your mom, right, and you have kids, and you have to run, I don't know, like soccer practices on different schedule for different, I don't know, different age groups. You can create that, right?
Absolutely. What I find really helpful too is sometimes I get attention deficit, right? I'm doing too many things on too many tabs. Everything is interesting, and then it's hard to keep the pace to get your most important things done. So now my agent is my kind of manager, I would say. I needed to manage me. And when it sees that I am doing too much work in a direction that doesn't move the needle towards my goals, my KPIs, it gives me a little nudge. And you spend a little too much time working on this proof of concept, you need to go back to your leadership or your management track, or to this goal that you've committed to. And it's been really helpful actually to help me stay focused.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, my agent, she told me that, in my case, is she. So she told me that my company KPIs need to be fixed because it's not aligned with this year's goals. We had very profound conversation on the strategy.
That's great.
It was amazing. Yes, yeah. I had to go back and rethink. I had to take a walk, think about it, come back, and restructure several tables that had numbers. And I thought I put a lot of thinking into it. But again, this is a good way to, think through a lot of, kind of like inputs and outputs that you put in. And I'm just not saying that you're going to be relying on your AI conversations, but it's a good way to run the numbers through your final destination where you want to be. Because again, I think it was you that you gave me a very good tool on, what is that, Miro?
Miro.
No. You gave me a tool. Well, I'm just forgetting it. Where it kind of like, it's like crystal ball where you can predict, forecast.
Oh, Mirofish.
Mirofish.
Yes.
Good one. Can you give us a little bit of sort of like the concept of how the tool works?
That's so. This was created by somebody else. I did not.
Yes,
create that, but that's kind of the beauty of today's engineering world. There's so much open source that is available to us, and it's really at the point of where does your imagination take you as far as what you're going to use. So when I saw this repository called Mirofish, and what it does is it simulates social networks. Reddit, for example, and what the conversations are going to be, different personas. It can spin up a bunch of what's called a swarm of agents. And think of each agent as a digital human that has its own persona, its own wants, needs, right, behavioral patterns. And then you apply this swarm of agents on a question or a problem or a user interface, right? So when I saw that, I thought, kind of cool. Don't know how I'm going to use it, but let me just try. So I launched it locally. I understood how it works. And then I thought, that's interesting. Let me see if I can actually use it on something that I'm working on for my company. And I ended up spinning up simulations on the Group 1 deals that I was creating with this deal creation pipeline to see, are these deals going to convert consumers? So each one of the agents in the swarm was a certain persona. So it was impersonating a human that is looking at this page. And that worked okay. And then a week later, I thought, now I want to apply the same principle on another problem. And I was building a POC for an enterprise product. And I had simulated personas. So who uses enterprise products? You have like CEO, you have a decision maker, you have a financial person that looks at numbers, you have maybe a marketer that uses the tool, you have an admin that has read-only access. So these are different roles with different level of access. And so I created personas. And then the simulation was looking at this product through the eyes of these different personas and the brains of these different personas. And it gave me an amazing insight. It said, this product is really good for these personas, but it's absolutely terrible for these others. You do not have the functionality that a CFO needs. This is too heavy on the manager side, not enough on the C level, right? So it was guiding me. And I started using that approach when I ideate on features and just, different things, different strategies. How would this audience perceive this set of features or this particular marketing strategy, or fill in the blank, and you can apply this technology to a problem.
I played with this a little bit. It was thank you for sharing. Is there any other tools that you can share with us?
The other thing that was interesting, it wasn't my idea, but in this, I built this landing page generator as a concept to see if we could do it at scale, again, for these different personas with simulations, whatnot. And then I had somebody on my team say, hey, it'd be really interesting if you added eye tracking behavior. I said, okay, how would I do that? And I thought about it, and I talked to my Claude, and we came up with an idea. And now my simulations also simulate where the eye is going to land, right? And we know in web development that people read in a zigzag pattern, right? Left to right, across, and then back to the right. So like this Z.
I didn't know that. But
yes, and so there's a reason your logo is always on the left, because that's where you start. Then you read across. You usually will have your sign up or logo here. Then you kind of skim all the way down and then to the right. The other pattern is in FAQs, is a different pattern. Now it's an F pattern. So you kind of start, you read the top line, you go down, you read the length, FAQs usually expand. So you're kind of like skimming it, what's there.
So that's the pattern of visitors that come to the website.
And look at the page.
Wow. So how did you guys study this? Or you already got that information somewhere?
So we knew about the patterns, right? I knew about the patterns, and I built a simulation. And then when I connected the dots, I said, okay, now let's simulate using these patterns. So I did another version of it, and the results were interesting. Is number one, my simulation started looking at the pages as a web page and then a mobile page, because there's a completely different level of detail and attention, right, on mobile than the web, right? Your screen's larger, you can show more. On mobile, you have to show your most important info above the fold of the screen. So I started applying these it was maybe 4 different concepts that I put together in this landing page blog post generator. And now it's informing our experiments that we will do, right? So I have all this knowledge, which persona will convert where, but it's not the truth. I don't know. It's all simulated, right? Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Maybe, that's what AI thought, but what will humans think? So now that I know kind of the placement on content on the page, we're going to launch 2, 3 versions of these pages, actually deploy it, see how humans will convert and where they land. And then that knowledge, I can feed back into my simulation as a learning loop. So it becomes better and more accurate.
Oh, wow. I would be so curious to see what the data will be showing after.
It is exciting. I have to warn folks listening though about the simulations. And Lena, you know how addicting it is.
It is.
As you get more and more out of it. Is you start feeling like you are on the brink of some grand discovery, and it never ends. It never says it's enough. Claude does tell me to go to sleep now after long sessions. But if you keep going, it'll keep going as well. And it doesn't say like, oh, you got the perfect version now, you can stop. No, there's always something. And as it kicks in your dopamine, you think, oh, there's more, there's better, right? Let me continue.
It's almost like playing a computer game, because I started playing with this creating trainings. And I'm like, oh, one more model. Oh, let me change this. And then it just keeps going.
That's right. Yeah, we live in an amazing time right now.
Yeah, but so what do you think is next? What is coming?
Well, more and more of this and more agents. So what I was saying on the panel today and what I'm seeing with the merchant world, for example, there's definitely various degrees of tech aptitude, right? Or even willingness. And there's a lot of fear of AI, AI is something, we've seen the movies, right? A lot of people think it may take over the world. And the truth is somewhere else, right?
Where is it? How far we are from this existential fear of AI will take over?
Well, it depends, right, who you talk to on which day. But I think ultimately, we need to change the way education works, because now unique thinking is more important than ever. Right? Kind of standing out from the crowd is really important. To go back to your question, how do you, transpose the voice of the merchant, right? How do you stay unique? Same is true for a white collar workforce that a lot of people think is at risk, but I actually think the opposite right now. I'm seeing it. So with the AI, even with all these agents, you need to manage them. Like, we're going away from doing the work ourselves to transposing our skills into agents, to then running these agents doing the work for us and us reviewing it and giving it better context, clearing out context rot, giving it better guidance, right? And I think in all of that, the quality should be increasing, right? Also, we are now exposed to tremendous amount of learning, right? So people that have never done AI before are now getting into it, and they're learning about it. I mean, that is amazing value that just didn't exist before. And so we're creating new industries, we're creating new ways of working, and it will just continue to go on.
Right. What do you think is the biggest threat and the biggest opportunity?
Well, the threat is the obvious one. Is there a kill switch to all of this, right? How far will it go? Will the bad actors get far enough to where there is no turning back? That is definitely a fear that a lot of humanity shares right now, right? But the biggest opportunity is in leveraging this to grow and scale and to achieve things that we weren't able to do in health sector, on medicine, increasing longevity, right? Changing humanity in a way we saw a change in the late 80s, early 90s, right? With globalization. Right now we're kind of going back into silos, and maybe this will bring us back together again.
Right. Yeah, I think one way or another, very soon, we are going back to silos, as you mentioned, interestingly. But very soon, in my opinion, we will have to learn that it's either we are going to make it together or we are going to break it together. But there is no way out of it. I don't know. Do you remember the movie Arrival?
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
I think
remember.
it's just going to be something like this,
Something
right?
like that.
It's just like we'll have to learn that there is no way for us to be separated because it's just going to be together is the only way.
Look, think about on the communication side. The being in another country is hard to understand if you don't speak the language, right? You feel lost and you feel alone. And now with AI and headphones, transcription is just fed to you. Like live, translation can be fed to you. So all of a sudden, you are able to communicate and are able to integrate, right? And that's something that's not been available to us ever. So maybe we will solve the problem of the Tower of Babel after all.
Right. But at the same time, it's just so important today as ever to, again, that, is going back to what you're saying, the idea of unique thinking and verifying what are you being fed. Because at this point, anything like kind of like going back to, are we living in the matrix? And, like, what is reality?
That's
What is
very
reality?
deep question.
Like, what is reality and what we are believing in, right?
Right. That's. There are no easy answers there.
No. And to me, that is sort of like the biggest threat because in the end of the day, this is the reality that we are creating. And if we are going to bring it to the end, it's not going to be from AI. I think it's going to be from us.
It always is, right? It
Right.
always is from us. But I'm optimistic. Nevertheless, I'm very optimistic just based on what I'm seeing coming out of this whole movement and how fast it's spreading and the benefits that we're getting from it.
Yeah, on the positive side, so this is the opportunity that we have today that people will be able to get extra hustle, extra business that they never had before. The opportunity to start the businesses and run them for the families that remember like 2-3 jobs at the same time. Now you might be able to start something for yourself and run from home, right? All right. Well, that was a great conversation. Thank you so much,
Thank
Masha.
you for having me.
Yeah, and before we separate, I would like to ask you a question. What conversation do you think we should be having more today? What type of conversations do you think we should be having more today as people, as society, as communities?
I think we need to talk a lot about our values and our education. So, kind of going back to first principles on family and how our generations are being raised, right? We knew in the 2010s, right, when the smartphones came out paired with social media, we didn't know yet at the time how harmful that technology is to our young people. And now we are in an epidemic of anxiety and depression, right? Now people are waking up to it, and let's face it, most of us adults are addicted to our smartphones, right? But this is an opportunity to have these conversations, and I know parents are having these conversations. I speak to my colleagues that live all over the world, and it's kind of the same topics. How do we keep our kids away from that long enough for them to form their original thinking, right? It is that original thinking that is where the innovation is born, right? Innovation can be born from the synthesis that AI gives us, but the next big thing, I certainly hope, is going to come from humans in the loop.
Yeah. Back to humans in the loop. Thank you, Masha.
Absolutely.
Great
Thank
conversations.
You. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us for yet another Connected Conversation. Thank you for tuning in into Connected Conversation. We truly value your feedback and would love to hear from you. Please let us know what story you would like to hear next. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Let's keep the conversation going, and let's continue to inspire each other. Let's stay in touch. Thank you.